Hey everyone, it's Jake Pentland. I just wanted to drop in for a couple seconds before this episode starts and update you on a few things. I got to do it quick because I don't want you to miss this episode. It's a great one. We have Flat Earth Dave, and yes, we are doing a Flat Earth episode. Me and my mom are not flat earthers, but we believe that everybody has a right to be listened to and talked to, and he is a great guest. And I'll be honest with you, I feel very different after listening to him than I do before. I won't say I'm a flat earther or anything like that, but I highly suggest you just listen and keep an open mind. It's going to be a fun one. It'll also be low in ads. I know we've done a lot of ads lately. I'm going to knock them out now, just two, and you can enjoy it pretty much ad free after that. But the real reason I'm here is to tell you that everything's fine. My mother is starting a treatment that's making her very, very tired. Again, she's fine, but I am in a doctor's office. And the reason I'm telling you this is because we did not get to do the episode we wanted to do this week. We were going to do Flat Earth next week because of all the big news with the debate and the Supreme Court rulings. We really wanted to get to you, but my mom is just not up to it. We will be here next week to talk. It'll just be me and my mom. We'll be talking about the debates and the Supreme Court rulings, and it's going to be great. So this week, 4th of July with your family, enjoy Flat Earth. Take your mind off. We got a long road till the election, so tune in, tune out, drop out, whatever you want to say, and enjoy this episode. So with that said, I'm just going to knock out a couple ads so you can enjoy it. I never get to do the ads, so I'm a little excited because I think I'm probably going to be really good at it. So this episode is brought to you by TWC. We've done ads for them a million times. You know, they do the contagion kit and the emergency medical kit. We love them. We know the bird flu, what do you call it? The new vaccine just got approved by Moderna. So they're really going to push that bird flu bullshit. And you want to be prepared because that's probably how they're going to try and steal the election with the mail-in votes like they did last time. So the Wellness Company, which if you don't know what it is, you should if you've listened to this episode. But if you don't, they sell these medical emergency kits. They contain 8 life-saving medications, our favorites like ivermectin, amoxicillin, a Z-Pak. There's a guidebook on how to take it. It's a medical emergency kit. It folds up. You store it in your closet. And if something happens, an outbreak, you don't feel well, you're worried, you'll have the medications you need right there in your kitchen pantry or wherever you keep it safe. Ordering your kit takes less than 2 minutes, and it couldn't be simpler. So you want to go to twc.health/RB and use code RB to purchase your kit. You get $30 off and free shipping. Whether it's the bird flu or monkeypox or COVID, they've got you covered. Cyber attacks, drug shortages, whatever you need, you'll have it in this kit. So again, go to twc.health/RB and use RB at checkout. The other thing I want to remind you to do is rblikesgold.com. We have not been pushing that gold. We've been doing too many ads, and I didn't want to bug you guys with 30 ads a show. I think there's more than enough. So if you really want to support us, we don't make you go to the show. We don't have a Patreon. YouTube has demonetized us. Really, the best way to support us is to click on these ads and buy the product. I mean, I wouldn't force you to do it, but it does help. And if you go to rblikeSgold.com, you can buy gold and silver and protect yourself. We already know how important that is. I don't need to sell you on it, but you can also do an IRA kit. If you have an IRA, you can do a rollover. You can move some of your retirement into gold and silver, because I promise you Democrats are not going to go easy. They've seen what's happened in the last week or two, and they're going to start doing some really scary, nasty shit. They're not going to give up their power, and you want medicine and you want currency that they can't control, and gold and silver is the best way to do that. So rblikeSgold.com. I highly suggest you go there and purchase whatever limit you want, whether it's one piece of silver or your entire retirement. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just know it's smart to do it. With that said, enjoy this episode. It is a banger. Thank you.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
We're going to be talking about Flat Earth, and we have Flat Earth David Weiss as our guest. Hi, Flat Earth Dave. I'm so intrigued by the whole Flat Earth thing.
Yeah, I saw Eddie Bravo on your show, and you had this aha moment, and we clipped it, and it went kind of viral in the truth community. So that's how we ended up together here. Well, before we start, I wanted to tell you a quick story about how you got me to take a big step in my truth career.
Oh, cool.
So I had a podcast years ago called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, and before that, I was doing a lot of truth telling and exposing things. And I was at a music festival, walking around with chemtrail signs, pointing out that they're spraying the sky in 2012. And I was into a lot of other things, but I was always afraid to say really what I thought on some political things and whatnot. And then later that evening, you come out on stage. You were on tour. I think you were running for president,
Yeah,
and you made a speech, and you held nothing back. And I stood there and I watched the whole thing, and I'm like, huh, maybe I should just say what's on my mind. And that was a pivot point in my life. That's probably how I ended up here.
that's
Then,
cool. I
yeah.
remember that speech. That was with Cynthia McKinney, right?
I'm not sure who it was
On
with, but
chemtrails?
it was no. Gathering of the Vibes
Oh,
Music
Gathering of the
Festival
Vibes.
in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that you were there. All of a sudden you were on stage, and I was like, wow, she really doesn't hold back. And I was like, I'm not going to hold back anymore. So thank
That's
you.
good. You're welcome. I don't think any of us should hold back as
That-
long as we're not inciting anything bad or
Sure.
doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. But when we're putting uh puzzle pieces together about what they're doing to us in our world, I mean, it is dangerous for sure to tell that kind of truth, but we have to do it. We have to.
Right. I I 100% have dedicated my life to this message. People that are listening right now, some of you are triggered, some of you are very happy that I'm here, but I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are triggered. Why are you even talking about this subject? It's ridiculous. And that's what I said when I first heard about it. I was doing a conspiracy podcast on all of the big events that had happened, and
Mhm.
people started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I would just delete, and then they kept sending it, and they posted things on my Facebook. I'm like, banned for life, banned for life, banned for life. I was like, this is so stupid. But then a good friend, truther, Sophia Smallstorm, who did some truth documentaries. She's like, Dave, I think the earth might be flat. And she sent me a couple of videos. I was like, okay, I'm going to debunk these. I didn't go in and say, let me see. I
Uh-huh.
went in with a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks I tried, and I just kept getting fed more and more and more content. I went out, I tested some things myself. I got a super zoom camera. I zoomed in on things that should be behind 60 feet of curvature or more, and I could see them. So I immediately defaulted to, well, the earth is just bigger. The curvature formula is wrong. And then when I went and verified these things, we can see too far. And then everything else started falling into place. Like water needs to be contained. What the science of water is, water at rest lies flat, and it needs to be contained. A pond, it has a shoreline that's higher than the water, right? Lower some of that shoreline and the water will flow away because it needs to be contained. So the world is like a big pond. All of the oceans of the world, think of it as a pond. All of the continents, think of them as just islands. And what's containing our pond? Well, the highest land on Earth, by more than double the next average height of any continent, is Antarctica. Antarctica is more than double the height of any other continent on average. So Antarctica is the shoreline around our world.
Well, how do you explain when they go up in space and look down and the earth is a globe?
Yeah. So NASA admits they don't have any photos of Earth. They say they're all put together in composite. The one picture that showed up was called on everyone's iPhone when the iPhones came out, was called the Blue Marble. And Robert Simon, who's a NASA visual artist, explained in an interview that he made it all from data, and he used Command Z a lot, and he stamped clouds in there using the same clouds multiple times, and he literally made it in Photoshop. And he admits it. NASA admits they don't have any real photos of Earth other than one that was taken from the moon in 1972 or whatever year it was, and that's called the Blue Marble. I forget what they call that one, but we took that picture that NASA took right off their website. We put it into Photoshop, and we cranked up the levels, and the Earth had a box around it, like it was cut and pasted right in there from NASA's website. Yeah.
Well, why would they want us to believe that it's round?
There we go. We're already there. That's a very good question. That's where we all default to, and we'll get into that more. But the reason they want you to believe you live on a ball is because they're hiding who we truly are. They're hiding more resources. Think about this. Every war, what is that about? Land,
Mhm.
resources, power,
Right.
Ports.
right? What if there's more land? What if they tell us there's 8 or 9 continents or whatever the number is now?
I think
What
it's
if there's
7.
what if there's 80 or 90,000 continents
Hmm.
across the plane beyond Antarctica? There's all now, and here's the thing. There's in the flat Earth community, there's people like, don't talk about more land. You can prove the Earth is flat. We can prove the Earth is flat right here from everything that we can reach and test and measure ourselves. What's beyond Antarctica is speculation, but there's lots of evidence that there's more land beyond the shoreline of Antarctica.
So you're saying that, like, okay, wait a minute. So it's like a pie, and Antarctica is the pie crust?
Well, it's not just the crust. Imagine a lake 100 miles across in the middle of Kansas. Okay. And at the center of that lake is a magnetic mountain, a mountain made from a magnet, just a magnetic mountain. So no matter where you are on that lake, your compass will point to the middle of the lake. You with me?
Mhm.
So south is every direction away from the middle. So south, if this is the middle, south is that way, and south is that way, and south is that way, because the compass will always be pointing towards the middle. East and west are circles around the middle. East and west are circles. This is the Gleason's map that used to be in all of the textbooks and encyclopedias and libraries, and they removed it.
Mhm.
Right? So if you go east and west, you can go right all the way around, maintaining your east or west direction, and then end up right back where you started from.
Mhm.
Right? If you walked around your neighborhood, does that make your neighborhood a sphere? No, you're just walking around it. If the center of your neighborhood was the North Pole, the compass would point to the north.
Right. No, it makes sense. But what compass are you talking about? Any compass will do this?
Any compass. A compass points a compass points towards a
north.
magnetic force coming out of our north. If you got a table, get like a nice strong neodymium magnet, put it on a table, draw a big circle around it, and put a compass near it. That's going to take over. It's going to be stronger than the magnetic
Right.
pole, and your compass will point towards that. And try to push that compass west. You're going to have to keep turning to maintain a west heading, because if you go straight, you're going to be going away from that magnet, and the north will be that way, and the
because it's
south.
on a different plane. That makes
You're just
sense.
going to go. You're just going to go straight.
But I'd like to spend, before we get into why are they doing it, I'd like to spend more time in your research, because I find this,
Sure.
because I just to be clear, I think you're probably a little bit more open minded than I am. I'm like you were when you started. I don't believe in flat Earth. We had Eddie Bravo on.
Yep.
I love Eddie. It was a great episode, but he's the one that gave me your number. We've been trying to book this for a long time, but I think flat Earth is absolutely crazy. So I would like, I have a bunch of questions. I know you've
I
gone on
think
a lot.
most people do.
No, most
Well-
people think it's crazy. So I would like you to actually convince me as a crazy skeptic with
Sure.
with some real info, because most people watching.
But I
assume,
mean, this whole thing
are like
about
me.
Antarctica is so intriguing to me because I know about Project High Jump and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, so
I know it's like we're not supposed to know about Antarctica.
Admiral Byrd did Project High Jump, the high land that's containing our waters, and in the 1940s and 50s, and he said he found more land bigger than the United States on the other side of the South Pole. Well, that would be, from where he went from, that would be like near Australia or Africa. You think they would notice a continent the size of the United States? And he said there's also warmer lands there, which doesn't make any sense. And then he announced that on a national news show, and 6 months later he died suddenly in his sleep
Right.
somehow.
Yeah.
So when you say most people think the Earth is flat, this is a heat map of my app, the Flat Earth Clock app, and these are just the people. These are just the people that have my app, which is less than 1% of flat earthers.
That's scary. That's like the Megan's Law website with the. I don't like to see that many people. There's that many
Right.
people that are on your app.
This is the UK.
Wow,
Right?
that's
and so
impressive.
Wow.
they're everywhere. There's over 180,000, 185,000 now that are on the app. And that's way less than 1% of the flat earthers out there. Because once you discover this, once you take the time to see the truth, several things will happen. One, you'll never forget it. Two, you'll wonder how you ever believed in the ball. I was a diehard globalist, right? Everything globe, globe, globe. And we'll get more into why the lie, but it's about controlling you. Like, if you don't know that there's more resources, if you don't know that there's, more land, if you don't know that you're at the center of creation, you don't know who you are, you can easily be controlled by the government. Govern, control, meant is
Mhm.
the mind,
Right.
right?
So the teaching of the earth is round, I watched a little bit on you. You're saying that's a relatively new
So in
teaching.
20
Like
in
100
tw-
years ago, apparently,
well,
everybody, you said back in the days, they used to teach everybody believed flat earth, like to the 1800s, early 1900s.
yeah. So
So
I ended
Christopher Columbus, didn't he prove that it was round?
That's a
by
good question.
going by sailing over the ocean and everything.
Well, by looking at an orange and seeing that's
So
what we were
that's
taught.
these
what I
are
was taught.
stories told to us by the victors, right? The
Right.
controllers. So these are just stories. I never met Christopher Columbus. I don't even know if he existed. And a lot of these characters from our past, like Eratosthenes, 2,000 years ago in Greece, he did a sticks and shadows experiment, and they pushed that through everybody. Carl Sagan pushed it in the Cosmos series, and it's in school books, and that is like one of the top proofs that kids are taught that the Earth is a globe with the sticks and shadows experiment. And they say it can only happen on a globe, but it actually, in the flat Earth model, it works perfectly. In the flat Earth model, the sun is small and close, right? We don't know what the sun is; it's just in the sky. It's small and close. So get 2 beer bottles on a desk, and then hold a light over one of them. There'll be no shadow, and the other one will have a shadow. You
Right.
can use the same math that Eratosthenes did to figure out the sphericity of your table, which is flat.
So just to explain the shadows and rods, if you have a curve of the earth and you put up dominoes, right, and you shine
Mhm.
the sun, the ones that are on the curve would have a longer shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they prove the earth is round, because look over here, it's casting a longer shadow because the sun's up there, where like a sundial directly at noon, there's no shadow,
Right.
proving the earth is round. It
This
looks like
is
this.
and Eratosthenes assumed that all sun rays come in parallel from a distant sun, which causes multiple problems because
Mhm.
no one has ever seen parallel sun rays. Go out when the sun is out and the clouds are like broken up, and look at the rays. They come out crepuscular. They spread out, right? But on a flat Earth with a small local sun, you can get the same results as on a ball. But they don't teach you that in school. They teach you that it's the only answer is a ball.
That
So
makes sense. So just in case, I'm sure you understand, but if our listeners don't, if it's a small sun closer to
small
the
sun
earth,
and close.
then the angle of the shadow would still work on a flat earth
Right.
model. But if it is the big sun that's 9 million times bigger than us, or whatever the math is, that would not work because it would be so massive it would
Well,
only work
they
on a
say
curve.
that the sun is so big and it's so far away, 93 million miles,
Right.
that the rays come in essentially parallel. But no one has ever seen parallel rays. And back at the time of Eratosthenes, they believed in a geocentric Earth, whether flat or globe, I don't care. They believed that the sun went around the Earth. How do you have a 93 million mile away giant sun circling a tiny little Earth?
Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't make sense.
So they literally get their stories are crisscrossing. They make absolutely no sense, and people just short circuit. They're like, I just want to get an A on the test. I just want
well,
to get that
if the
right.
sun is large and we are going around it, that math works.
And when
Are
someone
we circling the sun?
no, the sun circles us.
What?
This is why I love flat earth theory. He's
So-
so
The sun
convinced.
circles us?
Yeah, so I'm just on. This is
So
going super
we
fast.
don't move?
Do you feel like you're moving? You might, but
No, I never do. And
Yeah.
I always wonder that if we're supposed to be spinning at something like 365,000 miles
I
per
think it's
second,
27,000.
how come nobody's hair is moving?
Inertia,
Or
Newton's
Right. Well, they
second
say
law.
because the air is velcroed to the earth by gravity.
Yeah.
And the air is spinning. And because the earth is this is the official story. Because the earth has been spinning so long, the friction of the mountains and the topographical of the, surface of the earth has made all of the air spin with us.
Mhm.
But a summer breeze can blow left and right and up
Right.
and down, right? The sun goes around.
uh-oh,
Your YouTube.
it went away.
Sorry.
And not to be a
Oops.
nerd, but
The sun circles us, so the whole solar system is wrong.
if you're a
What
flat
about the
earther,
other planets?
We'll let's go there in a
we're
second.
working
But the
through it.
sun goes around.
I love this shit.
And wherever the sun is, it's noon.
Okay.
And so the sun is a small local light. Now, a lot of globe anti-flat earthers and even some flat earthers will say the sun's 3,000 miles high and 30 miles wide. That works, but it could be 1,500 miles wide and 15 miles wide, or it could be 7,500 miles high and 7. 7.5 miles wide. Scaling and variance, we don't know. I'm making no claims on what the sun is, where it is, other than it's a local light, which we can prove by its rays. Go out on a moonlit night when there's scattered clouds, and you'll see that the moon is only lighting the clouds that are right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
If it was 250,000 miles away, it should light up all of the moon, all of them. What's the question you just asked? You asked me a question. All the other planets.
Yeah, because we can see stars moving in the sky, and we can track Mars and Jupiter and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
if there's no solar system, there's no planets.
Right.
rotating.
When you look at planets, I want to keep this really simple. There's a thing called the inverse square law. Oh, the math, people freak out. It's very easy. When you have an object and it's a certain size, move it farther or move it twice the distance away and it'll be a quarter of the size.
Right.
Okay. And it's the same with the brightness. If I have something that's 4 lumens here, I double it, it's 1 lumen.
Right.
Right. It's a quarter. And it's the same as you get closer. When you go out at night and look at I like looking at Jupiter because it's the brightest star.
Right.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
It's brighter than any other star, right? It's as bright as the sun, but it's just very small. So Jupiter, they tell us, is a gassy planet, and it's 4 times farther away from the sun than we are. So if our giant sun was right next to us, it would fill the whole sky, right? Mm-hmm. We move it 93 million miles away, and it's the size of a coin held at arm's length, right? That's how we see the sun. Mm-hmm. If we doubled that distance, it would be like the size of an eraser, like the end of an eraser. And if we doubled it again, so now it's 4 times farther, it would be pretty small. It would be very small. Mm-hmm. So if you were on Jupiter, that sun is literally like a large star at best. And you have to believe that distant sun is lighting up Jupiter. That light is reflecting off of the gassy surface, which isn't very reflective, all the way back to your eye, 400 million miles away, and we see it as bright as the sun. Mm-hmm. You're seeing a light in the sky named after a god. That's all I can say.
Let me ask you this. Because I'm not an astronomer, what would an astronomer say to your claim here? Would he blow it out of the water, or would he just change the subject?
Pretty much just change the subject. What about the moons going around Jupiter? There are 4 little lights that do move around Jupiter, and if you pre-assume that it's a globe and that those are other smaller globes going around, you could do that. But this is the famous picture of Jupiter. Yeah. And this one here is a couple years later. They said we saw the northern lights. This is actually from NASA, this one. And look at those northern lights. Does it look stupid?
Yes, it looks like a bad
It's so stupid, right? And if you compare the pictures of the original Jupiter to the one that was taken years later, all the clouds are in the exact same place. There's no difference. And people just believe that. Yeah, no, and here's the thing. Yeah, okay. All of our space knowledge, all of the pictures, everything, they all come from NASA. When you look into NASA, if you watch any of my interviews at flatearthdave.com, you'll see I go through the NASA nonsense on the International Space Station, right? They're using green screens and wires, and they flub their lines. They're like, right here in Maine, right next to us. Like, no, you're in space. You're not in Maine. Mm-hmm. And that we catch all of these errors all the time that they keep trying to correct. We catch them and they correct them. Staying out of space for a second. So we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour on a globe. The equator spins at 1,000 miles an hour. Right?
I thought it was 20.
It's like just over 24,000 miles around. Okay. Spin around once a day. Gotcha. 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. Right. If you're in Alaska, you're making a much smaller circle. So you're only going like 300 miles an hour.
Right.
So that's weird. How about a plane taking off in Alaska, landing on the equator in Ecuador on a north-south runway that's moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour? How does it gain that sideways speed? How does it catch up? Right? Flying on an airplane. If you're flying on an airplane, you are instructed to teach the world to treat the world as flat and stationary. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, you will die. Right. They're just like, it's so big, just treat it as it's flat and stationary. Maybe it's just flat and stationary. Mm-hmm. All observations prove that it's flat and stationary. All observations prove the globe to be a lie. And all of the globe measurements, the radius of the Earth, the diameter, the distances, they're all assumed. There's no science behind them.
Well, I'd like to point out that it is interesting that NASA was funded and started by after Operation Paperclip with Nazis, right?
Yeah.
And so I go,
Who
why
are
wouldn't
also
that?
the same people that went to Antarctica.
Right. So
Right.
we're gonna get to
Right?
the fun stuff,
And they tell us
but
that.
that is very
Did you
telling.
know that most of the moon rocks they find in Antarctica? Moon rocks finding in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Right? And the moon rock that we gave to the Dutch government as a gift, one of the astronauts gave them, they wanted to insure it. So the Dutch government, I think it was Dutch, they went to, they had it inspected and they found out that it's wood, it's petrified wood, and it wasn't really a moon rock. Bizarre.
What does NASA say about that?
They don't say anything about it.
Is that
Right? We have observations where we can see mountaintops 700 miles away. And from that observer height, which you calculate in using their globe math, and there's actually 4 formulas to calculate the curve of the Earth. We use the one that gives the globe the benefit of the doubt. That's actually less. And at 700 miles away from that altitude, the tops of those mountains should be over 50 miles below a physical curve. But they all are right there. They're all visible. You know what they say about that? Nothing. They won't. They can't address it. They just pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, are we in outer space?
The way I describe it is we are in the basement of the universe. We are at the center of creation. If you really want to get into it, on my app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, there's a homeschooling section, and there's a section called Schooling Globers, and there's a section there about the toroidal field where we live. You know what a toroid is? It's our heart creates a toroidal field. The Earth creates a toroidal magnetic field where it just kind of circles upon itself. If you see it, you'll know what the shape is.
It's like 2 angel wings, right?
Yeah, and
I've
so
seen
we
that.
live in the plane. It's called the block domain wall in the middle of that toroidal field. I don't have a picture right here, but I'll give you one that you can splice in. And so there's this flat plane. That's where we are on such a big scale. I don't know if our human minds can fully, understand it, but that's where we live. You know
But we're not in space with other planets.
no,
Oh yeah,
all-
what was she was asking what Jupiter was? That's why I want to get back
yeah.
to the chart.
So
I'm hearing
these are
Kiki on the chart.
lights in the sky they used to be called wandering stars, right? And if you take a telescope and zoom it in on a planet and then bring it over to a star or the moon, it's still in focus. They're all in focus. You can focus beyond it. You can focus in front
That's
of it.
true.
And
I've
they're
done
all the same. They all
Mhm.
appear to be the same distance. So, people say, "What are all astronomers lying? They see these things." I've seen Jupiter. I took 4 years of astronomy in college. I had access to a observatory telescope. We use it all the time. But we're just told that glowing ball with glowing rings is a planet with ice around it that's reflecting light perfectly like a light. Right? When you actually do the math and use actual science and not just use the word science, you ask a glober, what's your best proof of the globe? They go physics,
Mhm.
science. That's all they have.
Right.
But they're using pseudoscience. They have no actual backup for what it is.
That one documentary I watched, I talked to Eddie about. He was mad at me for bringing it up, but I'd like to do it. It was
Behind the curve.
Was that the one where they were going to do the laser test and then
Yeah.
it looked like it proved the Earth was round, and then the
Yeah,
guy's
well,
like,
that-
fuck, and it ended.
So again, you understand that anything that's a big deception, they'll feed you the opposite.
Right.
They'll give you
Disinformation.
the opposite. So Netflix did a hit piece on flat Earth, and we had an experiment where we had a canal which was level, and along the canal we had 3 pieces of plywood. A mile apart
Right.
with a hole and all leveled to the level of the pond.
Yes, I
and
saw
so if we
this.
can stick a laser right through all 3 of them,
If the Earth is flat.
that would because the middle one would have to be higher if the Earth was a globe, right? And before we even got to do it, the lasers, this is like a $40,000 laser with a condenser. It melted.
Okay.
It literally melted the condenser, so we couldn't use the laser. So we said, well, let's just try it with a light. And we held the light, and the guy said, I can't see the light. And he said, hold it a little higher. And he reached up like this. So what is that? 2 more feet high? He'd have to go up 17 feet higher to, for the curve of the Earth, right? But he held it up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I see it. And Jaron, he goes, interesting, because it was interesting.
Yeah.
And that's where they cut it. Before the cut, right after the cut, he brings it down. And he goes, oh, I see it again now. So he did see it at that height. The problem was there was a tree with branches.
Gotcha.
The wind was blowing. All this stuff was happening. But they edited it just to make it look like he proved the Earth was flat. And why is it that flat earthers are the only ones that have ever proven the Earth is a globe with a silly experiment that was cut off in a hit piece?
No, it's a good point.
You don't even get the real information from the experiment.
Did you guys ever end up doing the experiment with the laser? Because I know that was big funded.
Not again, because there's a lot of logistics and costs and everything. And then the other thing, I'll just bring it up since you brought up that film. They had a ring laser gyro, a very expensive gyro that is set to detect if the Earth is rotating. Right? If the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour, which would bring it around, 360 degrees in a day. And it did detect a rotation.
Okay.
Right? And so that was heard and it was said off camera, but he's like, yeah, we don't want the globe believers to know about that because they'll go crazy. They use that clip.
Gotcha.
But what they didn't figure out is, what is that 15 degrees measuring? Is it the Earth rotation or is it the rotation of the sky, the ether that we are in? And so they did a second experiment where they, at the same latitude, they went up 10,000 feet on a mountain and did the same measurement. Now, if the Earth was a globe, it would be the exact same rotational angular speed. And it wasn't, it was different, which absolutely proves it's not the Earth spinning. But that didn't make the movie.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that question. So let's get.
What is spinning?
What is what?
What is spinning?
What is spinning? So all of the stars above us are spinning.
Yeah.
There's some sort of enclosure over us. We'll call it a dome. I don't know if it terminates right outside of Antarctica or if it goes a million miles farther. I don't know.
Right.
Because we're not allowed to explore there. But think about this. So there's a thing called the three-body problem. Right? There's a show on Netflix about the three-body problem. And you get a supercomputer, you say, I got a sun, it's this big, it's got this much gravity, I got a planet, and I'm putting it in orbit, and that computer will figure out what it's going to do for the next 50 years, 100 years, whatever you need. Add one more object into that, either another planet or a moon, and the entire thing goes haywire, and no computer can figure out what it's going to do next. That's just with three bodies. Think about our solar system, think about our galaxy, right? They tell us that 85%, somewhere around there, of the stars in our 100 billion star galaxy are binary, which means they're orbiting around each other while they're orbiting the galaxy. So let's just think of a beehive that you just threw a rock into, all right? So all of this is going on. The Earth is corkscrewing through space, right? We're corkscrewing through space. We're corkscrewing through space we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour. This is the heliocentric model I'm showing you here. So there's the sun, and those are all the planets chasing the sun, spinning. The moons are orbiting them. Everything stays in perfect alignment, perfectly calculable, never ever changes.
Right.
Right? And all the stars are doing their own thing, but never once in your entire life have two stars ever changed position due to parallax.
Mm-hmm.
Never once have two stars crossed each other.
Mm-hmm.
That is impossible, right? So here's the thing that they'll tell you. Well, they'll say, well, the stars are so far away that even though we're moving 4.5 billion miles a year, century after century, it's still not enough to make any parallax, right? They'll say that, but then they say they know the distance of the stars based on 6 months of being on one side of the sun, 93 million miles over here, and then 93 million miles over here on the other side of the sun. And they say that distance, they can tell parallax. So they want their cake, they need it too.
Right.
Right? So there's parallax when they need it. There's no parallax when we prove it. It doesn't. The Great Pyramid of Giza has a shaft that points right towards Polaris, our North Pole.
Yeah. Right.
But they say, well, the Earth is wobbling, and so it shouldn't be pointing towards Polaris. They say, well, when it was built, it was pointing towards Thuban, a different star, which just happened to be at our northern axis. So how do you well, you can just say no it's not, and they can say yes it is, and you can argue until the cows come home. Do you know about the Georgia Guidestones?
Yeah.
Yes.
So besides them having the New World Order, tablets on them, they were a clock. There was a hole in the middle one, and you look through that little hole and it points right towards Polaris. We went there, we verified it, we've done time lapses. It's right there. Right? It was built in 1981. And if the Earth is wobbling like they tell us, it's moving 1 degree every 76 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was up for over 40 years. That would be a half of a degree. The full moon in the sky, 3 of them side by side is 1 degree. So a half a degree is a moon and a half. So Polaris should no longer be lined up with that because it's already moved over a half a degree. But it was still there right in the center. So we started making videos about it. We started talking about
Then
it.
it
It
blew
started
up.
going viral. All of a sudden,
It
a
blows up.
boom. A
Yeah.
terrorist blew it up. 3 hours later, the bulldozers were there. The entire thing was taken away. No investigation was ever done.
Interesting.
What do you think that means?
Yeah, let's get
Because
into the fun
that was
stuff
an
now.
absolute proof that we're not wobbling. And if we're not wobbling, we're not spinning, we're not in a heliocentric world. This is the most important lie over everything. You know, the things that you don't like to talk about that the government and the music industry and the entertainment does to small people and and all of the other stuff, all, you know, the health freedom, topic, everything, all the nonsense in politics. The way they get away with this is they have the world believing that they're spinning out of control, flying through an infinite, godless, or distant God universe, that they have no power, that we have no resources, we're overpopulated. They're lying about the population.
I know that.
They're lying about resources.
Mhm.
You know, on my YouTube channel, DITRH, it stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. You can find everything at flatearthdave.com. I have a video that shows we were looking at a ship tracking site and we saw a ship 900 miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica, a giant ship, 850 meters long. And we looked at where the ship was belonged to, and it came from the nation of Kiribati, Karibati. Ever hear of it?
Mm-mm.
Right. I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's spelled that way. And you zoom in on it, it's a tiny little island in the middle of the South Pacific. Tiny. America and China, they both gave them $10 billion in the last few years. They say it's a very important trade route. Why would a giant ship need to stop at a tiny sandbar in the middle of the Pacific to be an important trade route? Well,
Refuel.
they the information was very, very sketchy on that. But if you actually look at the flat Earth map, there was a map that was discovered in a Buddhist temple. A map discovered in a Buddhist temple. It was published in a Hawaiian magazine in 2010. No, 1910. And it shows all of these other continents outside of where we live. Right, so that outer circle would be the shoreline of Antarctica.
Mhm.
So imagine we got this piece of paper, and we took a ball and we wrapped it around it. All of those continents are going to get squished to the bottom. They're calling that Antarctica. We're not allowed to explore Antarctica virtually or physically.
Right.
Right, you can go a guided tour, and just to the shoreline, maybe 100 miles inland, but that's it. Right, you're not allowed to go anywhere. So maybe these ships are going out to these outer lands, and that's a big ship. They're not just fishing, right? Maybe they're trading tuna fish, weapons, microchips, children. I don't know. But, you've never heard about it until today. And then when you look, I have some videos on my website on the app in the frequently asked questions section. Click the Antarctica button, and there's a whole bunch of videos there that YouTube will never let you see searching on your own. But here's the thing, Dave, where do you get your information from? YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. We get our information from life. YouTube is like life. It's a hosting platform that holds a lot of nonsense and a lot of truth and a lot of less truth now than it used to. Yeah. But you have to sort it out. You have God-given common sense, right? But we take that from a kid. You put a kid here on Earth and he's sensing the world. Hey, it's not moving. That pond is not moving. Everything is stationary. The stars are moving above me. The sun is moving across the sky. And then you go to school and they go, oh, no. You're spinning faster than the speed of sound. Like when you watch the sunset, it's pretty peaceful. But on the globe, you have to believe that you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. And the sun is staying still in the sky. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the fun stuff because you've done a great job explaining all
Well,
this
do you
stuff.
believe the Nazis went up there to Antarctica?
That's what I want to
and
talk
how
about.
come John Kerry and everybody who gets elected, the first thing they do is go to Antarctica all the time?
So they go to the Antarctica, they call it the South Pole Station, and then they disappear for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Where are they going?
Do you think they're going underground?
No, I think they're going outer ground.
Okay,
outer,
I get it.
Farther away, right?
I see.
And so we have actually we were one of our guys, flat earthers, was doing some
So
windows.
what if it's a bunch of Epstein Islands out there?
Maybe it's just a bunch of advanced civilizations that we're sick and tired of here, right? So real quick, there was a guy that used to be in the military. Someone was working on his house. They started talking about flat Earth, and he said, I was stationed in Antarctica, and they were asking him questions, and he says, I have a non-disclosure until I'm
Yeah.
100 years old, right? He's 94. He goes, but what I can tell you is there's millions of people living in cities in Antarctica,
That's what I heard.
right? So those are just the outer land. That's just the beginning.
Have you seen
right?
the Antarctic whistleblower that found the weapon there? He's going to come on.
Oh yeah, that's interesting also. But that kind of went a little mainstream, and it's like maybe they're it's called revelation of the method, where they always have to tell us what they're doing.
Yeah.
But Antarctica and the North Pole are the key to understanding where we live, and both of them are virtually and physically off limits. Go on Google Earth and get the measuring tool, and you can measure the United States. It'll tell you how many square miles. You can measure the middle of the ocean. But if you measure Antarctica or the North Pole, it inverts and it creates like this weird crescent, and it won't measure it because it can't measure it because it's not really there. I just said it's not really there. Antarctica exists.
You're saying
the North Pole exists. Australia exists. Globers only straw man flat earthers. That's the only thing they have. They have to make claims that we don't believe and claim that we believe them.
But you're saying Antarctica goes around like this in a basin, right?
Yeah.
The North Pole is also Antarctica.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then east and west, which we don't really look past Japan and past California, that's also Antarctica. Right? If you continue through California and keep going west.
Keep going straight. No, west is a circle.
West on a map.
West is a circle. Right. Remember, get your magnet.
Go left.
Put your compensator magnet and try to push it west. West is a circle. And doesn't prove flat Earth because that's the same on a globe.
Well, let me so here's California, here's South America, right? And here's Japan over here. I'm just going to drop for you. If you keep going this way, whatever that is, you're saying eventually you're going to hit the basin of Antarctica.
If you go straight in that direction, or that direction,
west on a traditional map,
or that direction, you're going south.
Okay, but to understand the disc, I don't understand because it's not a flat disc. You're saying
no, it's flat. It's not a disc. It's flat. It's level. Yes, we have mountains and valleys. I believe in mountains and valleys.
But if I keep
level and horizontal,
if I'm looking at a map and I say west by traditional standards, you know what I mean.
If you're standing in California, you can say west is that way.
Right.
As soon as you start moving, you have to slightly turn to the right to maintain your west.
But what if I don't turn right?
If you dead reckon, you're going to go right into Antarctica.
Okay,
you'll be going south.
Okay.
Right?
No, I don't understand that, but okay.
Well, so on my app, you go to the circumnavigation button and the frequently asked questions page, and there's a video called Circumnavigation for Dummies.
But you're saying
you'll get it in 2 seconds.
Antarctica goes all the way around, is what you're saying.
Antarctica is the shoreline containing our world pond.
Containing our whole world.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
But then beyond the shore are other
we don't know.
They don't know.
Oh, there's a book, and it's also
well, you know what I heard from people.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Know stuff. They said that that the continent that these people that Hitler took over there is 5 times bigger than the United States, and that it has, what was it, 50 million people living on it?
So after the war, a crazy number of Russian submarines.
But they say it's under the ice.
Well, that they might. There might be stuff underneath, but there's also lands beyond.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 1,000 Russian submarines disappeared and 250,000 people disappeared.
Right.
And they all went, Russia was fascinated with Antarctica, right?
Everyone was.
So what if you lived in a building that was 500 miles long, 500 miles wide, 300 stories tall, right? That's big. You can have airplanes in there, trains, Costco's, colleges, parks, mountains, right? So you live there your whole life, but you're not allowed to go when you ever get within 10 miles of the outer wall. Stop. We have to protect the penguins and the ice. You're like, what? Right? But let's say you're allowed to go out there. You'd be fascinated. There's more, right? There's more out there, right? Our little pond could be just a tiny fragment of this plane that we live on. It could be, but it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is we're not on a speck flying through a scientifically impossible space vacuum, right? Gases need to be contained, right? If you had a jar of air and you walked into a room that had no air and you opened it, it's going to fill the available space. Gases violently fill the available space, up, down, left, right, doesn't matter, at any altitude. I got a box of no air, right? A vacuum, a box with no air, no pressure. And I have a valve on it. No matter where I am, the valve's on the bottom, top side, any altitude. If I open it, the air is going to fill it instantly.
Right.
But they tell us that gravity is holding down the air on the earth, right? Their argument is, well, it's a gradation. The air gets thinner and thinner. It does. It does. The air pressure, keep that word in mind, top of Mount Everest is very thin. But you can't have air pressure without a container, right? If you have a big, tank of oxygen or whatever, or propane, and it's half full, the bottom will be liquid, the middle would be thicker gas, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Put a hole in that anywhere, it's all gone. Right? But they want us to believe that gravity can hold down air, but I can drink through a straw and defy gravity. I can pull things up with the weak vacuum of my mouth and lungs. It's again, my shirt says, "You're not stupid, it's stupid." Because once you actually look at what they taught you, you wonder how you ever believed it. And it's because they got you before you can talk. Your parents might have put NASA sheets on your bed. Not for us. We were pre-NASA, but now kids have NASA sheets. They have mobiles of planets over their bed. They have Sesame Street as astronauts on. Disney and NASA, same company.
Right, exactly.
It's the same company.
So the question as to why would they carry on this big, massive lie is kind of this is what I like. I want to say something real quick. This is what I like about the flat earth theory and why I'm open to it, because I was trying to tell my mom this last week. It becomes a super conspiracy theory. Once you see this and go, okay, the earth is flat, I'm open to it. Now, like you said, selling children and weird stuff, say everything we talk about in our little pockets of conspiracy theories all makes sense. It's all verifiable. And that's second, because of course everything's a lie. So whatever you believe is true. And I think that's the draw of flat earth. I'm not trying to be demeaning. I get why this would be a powerful thing to bring, because then everything else follows.
Here's something they say: you flat earthers, you'll never change your mind. Well, actually, we were globers. We changed our mind based on new information.
Right.
And then they say, you just want to feel special. Oh yeah, I want to be ostracized by my family and friends. I want to feel special. I want to be, I want to have to leave my own company with because my partners are getting upset at the truth telling that I'm doing. Right. And that's definitely why I did it. And you're just in it for the money. I was making a lot of money. I had a great company, and I walked away from it all because I think that this message is super important.
What is the message?
The message is that we are at the center of creation, that we have amazing power that they don't want us to know.
Oh, I believe all that.
Imagine this podcast goes viral and the whole world watches it. And they go, you know what? That Flat Earth Dave, he's right. What happens to governments? They dissolve. They're gone. Governments have no power other than in our imagination.
Well, they have the power that we give them.
They have the power that we give them with our imagination.
Right.
Money, their fiat money has controls us, and they've taught us to, government doesn't need money. They can do whatever they want. Right?
Yeah.
Well, the government's broke. We're not gonna have any money. Let's give Israel or give whoever $100 billion. They like that. Why don't we take care of our people here? Right? It's all just control. That's what it's all about. So if governments accepted the fact that we are on a flat Earth, it's not the shape that matters. It's that it's created. Because a Big Bang could be a god, or it could just be the Big Bang as a Jesuit priest made it up, not a scientist, made it up, Big Bang. And so you're still guessing there. You could go either way. But when you discover that the earth is intelligently designed, there's no other option than there's a creator. Now, that's where I draw the line. Whatever your religious beliefs are, that's your own business. I know there's a creator. My relationship with the creator is my personal relationship. No one's allowed to ask me about it.
Right.
Right. And that's it. I know there's a creator. Now, if governments knew that admitted the earth was flat, they now have to make laws that are in alignment with natural law, with God's law. Now they've created a satanic ball, right? All the measurements of the ball add up to 666.
Yeah, that's true.
There's so many 666s in there.
Mhm.
It's insane. So if you play on their ball field, you have to play by their rules. When you unplug from the matrix, it's literally the matrix that we're in, right? If you unplug from their ball belief system, right? When you're born,
Oh, that's funny because that's their god,
Yeah,
B-A-A-L.
yeah, right. Their God is the ball.
Hmm.
Gravity is the big G, is their God. And so if you play on their ball field and play with their fiat currency, they've got you. They've got you. When we're born, they register us, they put us on the stock market, our birth certificates. And there's so many ways around all of this stuff.
So
And
are we anchored to something?
so nobody knows what's below the earth, right? The deepest hole ever dug is the Great Borehole in Russia. The United States and Russia worked on it for years and years and years. And they got down 7.8 miles, under 8 miles. And they hit an impenetrable barrier. And they tried heat, bombs, diamonds, whatever. They could not get through it. And they finally gave up, right? So if the earth was an apple, they drilled like a quarter of the way through the skin of the apple. And when they were drilling, they were using ground penetrating radar and everything. Like, okay, there's no more rocks. They hit more rocks. Okay, there's no more water. They hit more water, right? They were wrong every step of the way trying to go through a quarter of the skin. They couldn't get any farther, and they go, okay, we know what the next 4,000 miles is, right? It's about 4,000 miles to the center. And everybody sees that meme that they show us in all school books, right? They show us this meme.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pseudoscience meme. We don't know what's on the skin of the apple, and they know what's at the center of the earth. What's the center of the earth? They tell us it's a molten magnetic core.
Mm-hmm.
That's where our magnetic, cool story, bro. All right? Any magnet, heat it up. It hits, before it melts, it hits what's called the Curie point, and it loses all magnetism.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a molten magnet in the center of our earth. And now that we pointed that out, they're like, well, it's actually moving like a dynamo. It's moving and it's creating this, they just make up stuff.
Right. Well, gravity's theoretically made
What
up.
What is gravity?
is Polaris?
Polaris is the center point that everything rotates around. Here's something interesting. Ready? We weren't taught to think three-dimensionally. We were taught to memorize and regurgitate and get an A. The A is what matters, right? So we're taught that the sun is the center and all the planets go around the sun, right? Halley's Comet goes out 76 years later, comes out around the sun, and it goes back out again, right? So our North Pole, they tell us all the stars spin. They're not spinning, we're spinning, and our axis of rotation is pointing towards that one light in the sky. That's why it looks like it's staying at the same point, and it looks like all the other lights are going around it. Okay. Are all of the other planets' axis of rotation pointing towards Polaris? Answer is no. I think Saturn almost points like towards the sun. Uranus goes that way. They all go all different ways, right? So there's no correlation. But all of the planets, the sun and the moon and Halley's Comet, they all circle Polaris. Polaris is the center. I don't know. It's a light in the sky.
Polaris is the center of what?
The center of the rotation above us. If you want to get into the Bible,
I do.
The Bible says that Polaris is God's throne. I don't know. I haven't been there. Makes a lot of sense. In the Bible, it says, and by the way, I like listening to what the Bible says. Before, I would listen to the podcast 10 years ago, and I like, these guys are great. I got notes. I'm writing. These guys are, they believe in the Bible. I'd throw it away, and because they're religious kooks. But now, I don't lead with the Bible. I follow up with the Bible. I'm like, hey, here's the science that proves it, and it's also in the Bible. It's also in the Torah. In the Torah, it says that the sun travels around the north and along the south. It doesn't go around the south. It goes along the south. So if you look at the flat earth, the sun goes around the north, which is the center point of the clock. The sky is a perfect clock, and it goes along the south.
So what I like, another thing you do that's cool, you don't claim...
Well, maybe it's a way, maybe all that, sorry.
No, it's just...
Maybe all that planet spinning and global shit is a way, purposeful way to take us away from God.
Oh, they're hiding God.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. That is, if you ask me what the number one reason is, they're hiding God. I didn't believe in God for most of my life because I'll tell the story. I've told it before many times. Is I was born in a Jewish family and we weren't really practicing and everything. And in junior high school, everybody was going to Young Life, which was a young Christian organization. They're having a trip to Bermuda, and I was like, I want to go. My mom's like, go. So I went, and we're there. I'm like, all right, this is cool. It's a lot of fun. And they brought us out to this cliff that they're going to do a Bible study. I'm like, okay, this should be interesting. And the first passage that he read was that the stars fell to the earth. And me being scientific, I'm like, the stars are as big as this house and the earth is a marble. How does that happen? And I disregarded the Bible and all religions for 30, 40 years because of that. So scientism, taught science, Rockefeller science.
It is Rockefeller science.
It is, yeah.
Absolutely.
They made me not believe in God, and that's what they want. Because if you have a society that believes in God or knows that there's a God, you can't control them.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's why I call it Mon-Satan.
Right,
because it's science. It's science too, fake science.
Yeah, and Roseanne, you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour. You're orbiting 66.6 thousand miles per hour. We're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour. That's moving sideways at 2.2 million miles per hour. Don't you feel a little wobbly? Right? Now, go outside, think of all those motions, close your eyes and see if you can still stand up. Then shake it off and say, okay, we're flat, we're stationary, we're non-rotating, we're at the center, the foundation of creation. Everything circles around us. Everything is part of us. And once you understand and you see that, then you can go look at all of the nonsense that you were taught. Boats over the horizon. Why does the city disappear from the bottom up? Why does the sun set behind the horizon? All of those are fully explained. In the frequently asked questions on my app, found at flatearthdave.com, there's the section that says, where does the sun go? I fully explained it. It's amazing. And again, I want nobody should leave this podcast that's hearing this for the first time and go, okay, Earth is flat. You need to verify everything I'm saying. Don't believe anything.
Right.
Men lie.
Right.
Women lie. People lie. People make mistakes. You need to verify. I've been doing this for 10 years. And for the first few years, I was trying to disprove it. Now I'm just looking for the truth. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Right. I'm a conspiracy analyst.
I like that.
People go, I don't believe in conspiracies. Definition of a conspiracy is when two or more people conspire for their own benefit.
Right.
There's a conspiracy in your own home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding. Everything's a conspiracy.
Everything's a conspiracy.
Yeah. What I was saying earlier, you don't claim to know what the sun is or stars. This is what I like about what you're doing. You're not even claiming. You're just saying it could be whatever. There could be lands that go 1,000,000 miles. It could end at Antarctica. It doesn't really feel like you have an agenda to prove the sun or the stars or any of that. Which
Somebody
is cool.
wants to put me on a lie detector test to see if I really believe this.
You should.
We should have done that on
well,
the show.
They want me to go to Oklahoma.
I mean, it says the firmament.
Yeah. Right, in the Encyclopedia Americana 1958 edition, in the Antarctica section, it says that the dome is at 13,000 feet at 85 degrees south. The dome. They're literally talking about the dome. But all of that was removed. Oh, getting back to we've known for 2,000 years Eratosthenes. Well, Eratosthenes proved nothing. Eratosthenes, by the way, he theorized that, hey, on a day where the sun is directly above my well, where I can see it on the bottom and I can put a stick and there's no shadow, 500 miles away, if the Earth is a sphere, we can measure that. So 500 miles. So he sent his buddy who counted his steps for 500 miles. That's how he knew it was 500 miles. He counted his steps. Imagine that, 58,927. What? Oh, what number was I on?
I got to start over.
Yeah, I got to start over again. And then when he got there, how did they communicate? And what if it was cloudy on that day? How did they?
Right.
All of it? It's just a nonsensical thing. And Globers always point to old books, hundreds of years old, stories.
Before there were computers.
Why don't they just do the proof today? Like we want to do Eratosthenes, we can do it. California, United States, China, we can do it all at the same time, right? Think about this: time zones. Right? The sun goes around, and wherever the sun is, it's noon. So there's 24 hours around, right? That's one thing that controllers did. The sky is the clock. It's the most accurate clock, more than any Swiss watch, because everything time is the sky clock.
Mhm.
So the controller said, let's give them clocks, but we'll make the hour hand go around twice a day so they never figure out where they are. The hour hand is
Wow.
the sun. It goes around once a day. It's amazing. I used to hate 24-hour time. I was like, that's not the way to do it. 12 is what I was taught, right? So if the Earth is a globe, you have a line from the North Pole to the South Pole. That's one line of longitude, and there's 24 of them.
Mhm.
And it cuts up 24 sections like the sections in an orange.
Right.
Okay? So there's 24 sections, right? If you look at the flat Earth, not even look at the flat Earth map. So there should be 24 equal sections. Did you know that in the north, so we have the Tropic of Cancer is the innermost point where the sun goes, and that's that inner yellow circle. And the Tropic of Capricorn is the outer one, and the equator is the red line in the middle,
Mhm.
right? So inside of the Tropic of Cancer, in the inner north, there's 18 time zones. In between the two tropics, there's 24 time zones. And outside of the Tropic of Capricorn, there's 32 time zones.
What does that mean?
Hmm.
That's weird.
That means, now imagine, draw that all on a piece of paper, about this big, and wrap it around a basketball. All those 32, you're going to have to rip some of them out to make it wrap nicely. Okay?
Gotcha.
But in reality, there's 32, 24, and 18. That points towards a flat Earth.
Gotcha. Okay. So
That's
when did this
incredible.
flat Earth, if this is true, that it's all a big lie, when did the lie begin to perpetrate it with Rockefeller's educational system? Because we've talked about that on the show before.
Well, I interviewed a woman in 2000. I was visiting my mother who was living in a retirement facility, and she was 90 something at the time. And she was taking a nap, and I went to one of the nurses there in the health center, and I said, "Do you have who's your oldest person here that has their wits that I can talk to?" Because we're interviewing people at the World's Fairs. I was interested in the World's Fairs. They're like, "Oh, Ruth, right over here. She's sitting in the cafeteria by herself." And so I went and talked to her. She was thrilled. That's one to talk to. Sharp as a tack, 92 years old. And I was interviewing her about the World's Fairs. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole, which you would love to talk
I
more
do
about.
know something about it.
Yeah. So I said to her, I didn't mention anything about flat Earth. And I said to her, I was just interviewing her without a camera. This was just off the cuff. And I said to her, "What did they teach you in science class about the Earth?" That's all I said. That's exactly what I said. And she goes, "They taught me the Earth was flat." And I said, "Can I record this
Are
and
you
interview?"
kidding?
And so I have an interview. Just on the app, go to the video search and put in 102-year-old. Right, it'll come right up. And I said to her, and so in late 1920s, she was taught that the Earth was flat
Hmm.
in
Oh my
public
God.
school in Connecticut.
Do
Not a religious school, not a private school, public school.
Are there other people that say that? Or
Yeah.
I've never heard
So
that. That's cool.
So I had previous to that. I'd spoken with a woman that said now I'm forgetting the country, in like Serbia or something, in the 1930s they were teaching flat Earth, and then in Mexico last winter or a couple winters ago, I talked to a guy who said in the 1950s they were still teaching flat and globe here in the United States. They didn't know,
Hmm.
Wow.
and then all of a sudden, right around Project High Jump, they removed flat Earth from an option. They only taught the globe, and that's it, right? You want to get your head chopped off? Go to a 10-year-old, tell them the Earth is flat. They'll be like, "No," and they got all this information. Like, where are you getting all of that indoctrination from, right? And it's coming from school. First worksheet you bring home from school. One of the first ones is the Earth goes around the sun,
Mhm.
right? The moon goes around the Earth, right? I got that as a kid, and kids are still doing it today. There's a globe in the front of the class. When it's their birthday, they march around the class with the cake, and they go, "Another trip around the sun," right? Indoctrination. Star Wars, Star Trek,
Yeah.
all of that. It's all about space. And here's the thing. We're all just a bunch of big babies, right? We don't want to let go of our ball. And one of the things that is the hardest to let go for many people is aliens.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrials.
I was going to ask you about that.
Right? Well, the closest star, other than our sun, the sun's the closest star, is 4.5 light years away, which equals about 25 trillion miles, Roseanne. 25 trillion miles. In the cosmic realm, 25 trillion miles is our next door neighbor.
Mhm.
Okay? Do you know how far 25 trillion miles is? Do you know how big a trillion is? How long do you think 1 trillion seconds is?
A million years.
Well, that's a reasonable guess. It's 31,000 years. 1 trillion seconds. Most people say 5 years, 10 years, 2 years. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. So if you and I were in a rocket ship together going a mile per second faster than anyone's ever gone, and we went 1 trillion miles, so we traveled for 31,000 years, we're only 1/25th of the way to the closest star. So, you know what?
Maybe those aliens are from the other continents beyond
Thank you. You're way ahead of me.
Actually,
If
they come
we-
underground. That's
if we
what
can
the
go
Hey,
a
process
that
hun-
is.
makes sense.
If
to
we can
me.
go 100,000 miles an hour, it would only take us 28,000 years to get to the closest star. When we got there, we're like, oh, there's nobody here. We got to go to the next star, which is 100 times farther. Okay? Ridiculous. They don't travel through impossible fake space to crash in Roswell, but they could be traveling 20,000 miles.
Well, a lot of the military footage of UFOs that they finally started releasing, a lot of that comes from under the ocean.
Through volcanoes.
They believe there's bases underground.
Right.
Maybe there's wormholes between those other
Well, or
Or
continents.
caves.
So-
This
so-
is
down
fun.
through our world,
Yeah.
right?
Well, there's a lot of underground stuff going on.
oh yeah, this whole war that we're involved in is underground.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where children are
So
shuffled.
if you were living on the land beyond Antarctica, so that would be extra land, extra territory, extra terra. You would be an extraterrestrial from the outer space.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I want to go move over one of them fucking
Well,
continents.
so-
I'm so bored here.
There's a book on the
Christ.
app in the book section called The Iron Republic, and it's a story about a politician in New York that got sick of politics. Right, he just got tired of it, and he had a bunch of money. He sold his house and he bought a ship, and he was exploring Antarctica. And they saw this inlet, and they kind of get sucked into it. So they're navigating through this inlet, this whole story. Then they pop back out of the ocean, and they couldn't figure out where they were. Their charts weren't right, the stars weren't right, and they were lost for 2 or 3 months at sea. And then they finally saw land, and they saw a city. They're like, okay, let's wait until morning. And so they anchored off the city, and the city, they said, was very quiet. And then a ship came out to meet them. They're like, hey, we're from the United States. Where are we? And they're like, well, this is the Iron Republic. And they're like, where's that? And he said, well, it's on the other side of Antarctica, about the same distance as the United States is from the inside. And didn't quite understood. He went in there, and he ended up staying there for a decade, for 10 years. And he got married, he fell in love and everything. And then I think his wife died. He got distraught. He got his ship back, and he made it back, and he landed in Florida. And he published a whole bunch of articles, and it turned into a book called The Iron Republic in Florida Magazine, which you cannot find a single physical copy of anymore.
What era was this?
1901.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, 1901. So here's the thing. Oh, and the story he told over there, flat screens, and I think they had floating cars, and just a whole different setup. And and the story was they used to live here, I think, and they said in the United States, but they were tired in the 1600s, but they were tired of the tyranny, so they left and they went to the outer lands. They picked up and left. Imagine if there was a whole bunch of other continents. Do you think people would pick up and leave right now?
I would.
Yeah, I'd be right there with you.
Were you with the mic close to your?
Yeah.
I would.
you can
I'd
pull it.
love to go someplace where there isn't none of this horse
So
shit.
they've created
Right?
this
Fuck
Antarctic
yeah, I hope
treaty.
this is real.
They've created this Antarctic treaty to stop us from going there. And
Oh, I know everybody signed it.
yeah, everyone, all the
Except for,
countries.
aren't they saying Iran controls it now?
Oh, whatever. That's way nobody can question them, right?
Well,
Uh-huh.
real quick question, because it's getting really good. Just all the governments are involved in this, right? Like Russia,
all the
Iran.
governments
Yeah,
are
the
working
world.
together.
Okay.
The
Have
all
been. I was
wars
gonna say
are
the
just
space
a
race-
game.
Space race was bullshit.
It's all
then.
fake. Project Paperclip, fake.
Oh, really?
Because they were all working together already.
Okay.
Yeah,
right?
they were.
But it was a real project. They did it. It's a whole thing.
Was the space race real at
They
all?
just moved their headquarters.
Yeah,
Project
they're
Paperclip.
just moving the power structure around, and all of the space agencies, they're all in on it together. It's just a money laundering,
Okay.
control jobs program. It's just to keep the slaves busy.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I agree with that.
It's
We
fascinating.
all ought to get a boat and head out for our new.
They won't
Well,
let
you,
us.
you
Homeland.
you'll be stopped is what the problem is. You won't be
How do we
allowed.
get a
People have
passport?
tried. They've been arrested. Their ships have been seized. They've been sunk. They've been put in jail. Why are they guarding Antarctica? The other thing is the way that people used to travel. Have you looked into the giant airships of the past of the old world?
Mm-mm.
So
No.
there's a new video. The day of recording this came out literally yesterday called Old World Order. Old World Order by Hibbler Productions. You can find it on the Stu Peters Network. Watch it. You will love it. Whether your feelings about Stu don't matter. It's just Old World Order by Hibbler Productions. It'll be on Rumble soon. I think it's on Rumble. But watch it. It's amazing. It'll blow your mind. You will love it because it's
Really?
everything that you're looking into.
Well, he talks about Tartaria too.
Yeah, it's all
Tartaria.
about
Well,
Tartaria.
You know, the whole thing, it's so crazy because I was reading about, you know, because my family was murdered in the Ukraine, you know, in around World War II. And so I was reading all this stuff about Hitler and all that stuff. I'm Jewish too, so of course I'm fascinated by all that.
It's all fascinating.
Yeah, but it said that they did the DNA or something, but they were saying that the Ukrainian whatever, that Hitler regarded that, and the DNA proves that they called the Jews Tartarians then.
Yeah,
Way back then, they were calling Jews Tartarians.
on my app, I have a button called the homeschool button, and the top row has all Tatarian stuff on it. The first one is a channel called My Lunch Break. You will love it. He's on every platform. Just search My Lunch Break, and he does like these 20, 30-minute videos on old buildings and the story behind them and how impossible they all are.
I love old buildings.
You, Roseanne, if you watch that, you're gonna watch every episode. You're gonna
Okay.
watch every episode, and you're gonna fall in love. My Lunch Break. He's also the guy that does that is featured in Old World Order. This video is going to wake up a lot of people.
What are we going to do if we all like get together and go, okay,
So here's the thing. There's people that say, we need to take down the government. We need a revolution. That's what they want because they've got the military. They want that. If we all ignore the government, if we all
I say that every day, ignore them.
Yeah.
ignore them, they have no power over us.
Retake your energy and your imagination from them, and they'll just wilt and blow away.
Yeah.
Roseanne, that is the absolute truth. They won't exist. They won't exist. They exist in
We
our
keep
imagination.
propping them up.
Absolutely.
Even when we deny that they exist, we prop them
Yeah.
up.
People are just so afraid. They're like, well, I'm only one person. There's nothing I could do. Yes, one person knowing the truth is stronger than a million people lying.
That's right.
A lie cannot exist by itself. A lie has to be held up in your imagination. The truth is the truth. It is what it is. It will never not be the truth. Nature is the truth.
That's right.
Right? They've created a
That's
fake
the
world.
creation of God is nature.
Yeah. God is in nature, but they're trying to pervert it. They're trying to convince us, they've got us on their satanic ball. They got us
Well, it
believing
really is
nonsense.
the satanic thing because they want us, they believe that Lucifer, their God, is as powerful or more than God.
I think that
It's such a joke
I
that
think
they would actually think the devil or whoever it is
Yeah.
they're
well,
worshiping.
they get caught in the material world, like
Yeah.
the material girl. They and I guess Lucifer will help you go there, but then the price is big. The price is big.
There ain't no damn Lucifer.
Well, whatever the god of that they all pray to the same thing.
Well, they have a conspiracy that Lucifer is actually God, and the God we follow is
That's
the wrong
what
one.
they
We've
say.
been lied to. It's their
No.
own version.
But
Their
they think
religious
that's
letter.
enlightenment. They think he's
Well, that's what Lucifer means.
they think he's the angel of enlightenment, but he ain't.
Well, Lucifer it means
Well,
to enlighten.
I'm
Yeah.
so sick of bullshit.
my life
It's all the
is-
world of bullshit, isn't it? Wall to wall horse shit.
It's bigger than you can even imagine. I mean, you're just finding out today that the lie is bigger than the ground that you're standing on.
Well,
Right?
I know everything's a lie except
Right.
God.
There's so many people that are awake to all the a lot of the conspiracies, right?
That's me.
But they still believe in NASA.
Yeah,
Even though we've
that's
shown
me.
them that their rockets are fake. Go to my website,
You think we
flatearthdave.com.
went to the moon?
No, there's no moon.
There's
he's
no
saying.
moon to go to. It's not a place.
That's
It's right
you
there.
gotta see the world.
It's
this
right
is what
there.
you gotta do, Ma. You gotta catch up with the
On my
flat Earth.
website, for those of you that are huge Elon fans, go to my website, scroll down to the banner that's just a whole bunch of pictures of Elon, click it. There's a 5-minute video done by Greg Reese showing you that he is a 100% total fraud. Now, is he a knowing fraud or is it an MK Ultra fraud? I go back and forth.
It's all MK Ultra.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
See,
but
what
it's
I like
all lies.
I like about the flat Earth, because I'm getting into it now, is that all the stuff that we kind of put out doesn't make sense. It kind of all fuses instantly once you
All of it
accept
comes
it.
together. All
It all
those
makes
blue
sense
dots
now.
I showed you,
It is the Matrix.
It
I can
is.
see that.
yeah, they're all, 99.9% of them didn't buy the medical tyranny that's been going on.
Yeah, we didn't.
Right? The one thing the Globers get right is like, oh, you're flat earther, you're probably an anti-vaxxer, right?
Definitely.
Hey, you got that right.
Yeah. Add it to the
Yeah,
list.
no shit.
You got that right.
I'm 100% against medical tyranny. We were right about everything every step of the way. I don't know. I get nervous about being
I
too
think they've
open-minded.
put us all here wherever we are, and I love talking about it, but they're just using human beings as captive population for their experiments.
Absolutely. And I think this is a spiritual war that we're in, and they're taking our energy. They
Yeah.
want that loose and negative energy.
Yeah, that loosh. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
They want that energy, and they want to keep us in fear. So if you watch the news, north, east, west, south, they're
Mhm.
steering your mind with
Mhm.
the news,
Mhm.
right? Like I never watch the news, but once a year I'll turn it on for like 2 minutes. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. It's just horrible. It's
Yeah.
just nasty stuff.
No, you feel it, and it's
Right.
It's bad.
I say the news gives you cancer.
Yeah.
Watch the news, you'll get cancer.
Social media
Okay.
too. I think
Yeah, I think the media gives you
all
cancer.
social media makes is
All
making me
All
feel
it does
crazy.
is create distrust, division, and hatred and fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, here's the thing: false evidence appearing real is fear. False evidence appearing real.
Oh,
If
that's good.
if you focus on fear and nonsense and the news, that's going to manifest into your reality. They don't want us to know that our thoughts manifest our reality. Roseanne, when you were
That
young,
is true. I know that's true.
it must have been very easy for a woman to get into comedy, right? Joking,
Uh-huh.
right? But you thought your way into it. You visioned it, you imagined it, you saw it, and you made
Yeah.
it happen.
I visualized
That's
it.
the truth for everything.
So
It is.
are you into simulation theory then?
Well,
Or
I
just-
I don't
you know
like
what I
that
mean.
word simulation theory.
I don't either.
But
But you know what I
this
mean.
place is an interesting realm.
Right. It is. Right.
It's an interesting realm. I think this is me. I'm not speaking for anyone else. I think that the stars in the sky are where our souls reside. They're angelic. They're angels. That's why they don't move, because they're perfect.
Okay.
Right? And we take time coming here to have this avatar experience in this physical realm. I don't believe it's a all computer simulation,
Okay.
but we're here having this spiritual this experience in a 3D physicality.
I believe that too.
Right. And then there's layers of heaven above us, and I don't know what's below us, but I am, some people might consider this hell.
Yeah.
Right? This is an amazing experience. It's an amazing time to be alive. And when you wake up to this stuff, you're never bored. It's it's just mind blowing. Here's the thing. There's you can go on YouTube and the internet and search Loch Ness Monster, fairies, whatever, all the information will come up, aliens, tons of stuff. Flat Earth, they feed you propaganda. You can go, like, hey, last year I was looking into underwater basket weaving and I watched a video. I can go to my YouTube history, search for it, and I'll find that video in my YouTube history, right? If you were able to find some good Flat Earth videos and watch them, you can then go to your history and search for Flat Earth, and none of them will show up.
Yeah.
Just propaganda videos will replace them.
Yeah.
That's the only one that they're doing. It's the only topic that they'll do that with.
Yeah.
That tells you
It's
something.
not the only one, because that's what radicalized me.
Yeah. Okay.
Was my study of Torah
Yeah.
and Judaism, which I've done my whole life. But and I used the internet to do it, but I saw how they were erasing actual Jewish history
Yeah.
on the internet and erasing actual Torah too. Because when I'd go on, it would be like a fake kind of not Judaism. It would be an infiltrated fake Judaism. And at the end, it would say something about the Catholic Church or something about a Protestant. It wouldn't be,
Yeah.
rabbis of
It-
Judaism.
Again, they're giving
So
you a little bit.
I knew then that
Right.
they erase history, they give us the information they want us to have, and who controls it is a very small. I figured out it's about 2,500 people
Yeah.
that control all information.
Yeah.
Might even be less than that, actually.
Well, but that's the big circle that controls everything about what we're allowed to know.
Right. It
They're
is.
the owners of the world, like George Carlin said.
Yeah.
They are the owners and the arbiters.
But here's the thing: we are getting to a point of critical mass where we can all exit the matrix.
Well, I hope we do, and I hope we do it fast.
Yeah. Well,
because
it's coming
since
around.
I exited it, which has been quite a while, I have to say, you find free creative space. You can actually think and create and feel good and feel love.
That's what it's all about. It's all about love. That's why they want to keep us 6 feet apart. They want us being afraid of each other. They want you to believe in systemic racism. It's all just made up.
6 feet apart. My one friend who knows about MK Ultra says that what that is 6 feet under.
Yeah.
It's a living death where you're not allowed to come in contact with humanity.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Our we have this 6 foot, average toroidal field around us with our heart energy, and they want us interacting. I mean, they literally want to take us away from all of our natural senses.
Yeah, they do.
And when you look into this, it's phenomenal. Belief is the lazy man's knowing. Okay.
I've always thought
Love
that.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, because it's easy. You guys believe I live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Do you know it?
No.
No,
No.
you don't. Right. But, knowing takes time and effort. And people are lazy, and people are like, I don't really need to verify that. My intuition tells me Dave's not lying about that. So you got to figure everything else out. If you look into flat Earth, if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get nonsense. Your brain's going to get tired. It's going to get confused, and you're going to give up. Right. That's why I created this app. It bypasses their algorithm. You can find it at flatearthdave.com. And I offer for the people that think I'm crazy, you can win 3 Bitcoins from me for 1 globe proof. All you got to do is watch the daily video every day. There's a new video every day, just for like 2 weeks while you're having your breakfast, tea, coffee, whatever. And at the end of that, send me 1 proof and you win 3 Bitcoins. The problem is you're going to end up being a flat earther if you do that. So fair warning, if you take my challenge, you're not getting 3 Bitcoins and you're going to be a flat earther. So there you go.
Well, there's no reason to think it wouldn't be true, right? There's no reason to think this is an impossibility.
Well, what's an impossibility is the spinning ball in a non-sealed space vacuum, right? How are we in? The globe breaks every law of thermodynamics. It breaks the 3-body problem. It breaks the inverse square law. It breaks everything. Polaris, you can see with your naked eye, right? Mm-hmm. They tell us Polaris 46 times bigger than our sun. Okay, now we have something to compare it to. The sun and the moon, our sun and moon, they look like they're the same size, but really the sun's 400 times bigger, but it's 400 times farther. So it looks like it's the same size, or maybe it's just the same size, right? So scaling and variance work. So if the sun was a yoga ball and the earth was a BB, that's about the size, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're standing on the top of that BB and we put the yoga ball 1/4 of an inch over your head and you looked up, the whole sky would be the sun. Mm-hmm. We move it 93 million miles away. It's the size of a coin held at arm's length. Okay. So how do we make Polaris the same size? Well, it would have to be 46 times farther, right? 46 times farther, it would look like it's the same size. So the sun is 8 light minutes away. Understand what a light minute is? Light travels at 8. So if we made it 8 times farther, that would be a light hour, right? So if the sun was twice the distance, it'd be 1/4 the size. 4 times the distance, it'd be a 16th of the size. 8 times farther, it'd be a 64th the size. So now the sun's the size of a star. So at a light hour away, our sun is hard to see. But let's be safe. Let's make it 24 hours away, 24 light hours away. You couldn't see it. No one's going to argue with that. It's too small to see at 1 light day away. So if we made Polaris 46 light days away, they would both be invisible. 46 light days away. Let's round it up to 2 light months. Let's give the globe that benefit. At 2 light months away, there's no argument. Polaris would not be seeable. You know how far they tell us Polaris is? 433 light years away.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most people just short circuit at
Yeah.
that.
No, it's
Most
hard
people
to,
just
it's hard
short
to,
circuit,
it
but
is.
do the math and shows you that's science that you can't see it. Did I lose you?
No, I was just thinking about people who when we talk about physics and math, because I'm a fan of math,
Yeah.
especially math and Torah. I'm a big fan. But the guy that I talk to, or the men that I talk to, they always say, "But we're talking about the other physics." Do you know
The
what?
quantum physics.
No, the other physics that isn't based on bullshit.
Oh,
Real
well,
physics.
real physics.
Yeah.
They just use pseudoscience. They just say
Right.
physics. Michio Kaku says that his field of astrophysics, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
believe
they're
so.
off. They say when science is off by a factor of 2 or 10, that's horrible. But s- astrophysics is off by 1 to the 120th power. That's a number that's not even conceivable. You can't fathom that number. The human mind can't fathom it. It's just too big of a number. All right, a trillion. Remember how big a trillion was? That's
Yeah.
12 zeros.
Right.
Okay, you can't fathom it.
Right.
So again, what science we talk about? Science. I can take a tape measure and measure this table, and I can come up with a physical measurement of something.
Yeah.
I can't look at a light in the sky and measure it unless I know how big it is already, or the distance,
Or you can go there.
or I can go there.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Right.
all pseudoscience nonsense.
I think
Isn't that crazy to
it
think
is.
about that?
Here's the thing. We live in a world where we want to love everybody, where we want to trust everybody, right? But we live in a world of liars. Now, are all teachers and
And
scientists?
demons. We
Yeah.
live amongst demons. I mean,
100%.
human demons.
Yeah,
So too.
there's people that have demonic spirits, right? But are all teachers liars? I'd say 99.9% of them are honest, good-hearted people that have been lied to,
Yeah, I think that too.
right? Guess how you become a teacher? You regurgitate the Rockefeller nonsense and get straight A's, and you can become a teacher.
Mhm.
Hey, you're really good at regurgitating this. Why don't you teach the next generation?
Right.
And then because you're
True.
a teacher, you're
Very
now
true.
accredited. So
Right.
that even reinforces your certification of being a teacher. So now then nobody can tell you you're wrong because you're a teacher. You're a professor.
Right.
Well, I loved having you on today because
Yeah.
what you do is liberate our imagination and our thinking and our connection to, scientific method, which those things have all been buried and demonized by this ridiculous system we're
Yeah.
captive of. So I love this
I do
conversation.
too.
Thanks so much. And this is most of my interviews that I do are not in studio. I've been doing a lot of in studio ones lately, but I have visuals of everything I'm talking about. So if you go to flatearthdave.com, scroll down to my social medias, make sure you subscribe to my channels there. But there's one called Dave's Interviews. There's a big banner there. Click it and just watch those for a few days.
Yeah,
Watch
verify
those for a few
yourself.
days and try to win the 3 Bitcoins.
Yeah.
How
I mean,
exciting to
yeah.
think that we have whole new information to pursue.
No, I love the idea. And I do know, even as a kid, when I was learning this stuff, and I believe in the moon landing and NASA and all that, I remember asking in like the 4th grade a teacher, what is gravity? Like, how does it work? And she said, and they would say it
I don't
today,
know.
we don't know. We don't know. It's
Yeah.
not something provable. And I was like, well, do you guys have a theory? And they're like, no, not really. Because if you actually look at a spinning ball, you would fly off it according to physics. So
do we
it's
have a
something
moment
else.
to
And
talk
I was
about
like,
gravity?
this is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
So people say, the Globers will say, why don't you just step off a rooftop? That'll prove gravity. Well, no, that proves that you're more dense than the air around you. The question is, what's making you go down and not sideways or
Right.
up?
Right.
So they tell us gravity is mass attracting mass, but now they've changed it to Einsteinian gravity, which is the bending and warping of space-time, which is just word salad nonsense,
Mhm.
right? So how can you test gravity? You can't test gravity. Some guy did it with like giant lead balls in a barn that supposedly attracted to each other, but they didn't take in the electrostatic effect that could be, or even a slight breeze that could have done it. everything is electrostatic. Everything has electrostatic. You're electrostatic, your
Mhm.
food, the air, everything is electrostatic, right? And so everything has a charge. The ground is neutral or negative,
Right.
and the air, the sky is positive. It's a
Right.
positive charge. It's measurable. There's 1,000 watts, 1,000 volts, whatever, watts or volts, whatever. Every meter you go up, it's higher, and you can measure it. Hang a wire from a drone, and it's got electricity running through it. It's
Right.
all here in the air. So there's a flow of energy down.
That's right.
And so anything that's not connected to the ground is in a positive field. The ground's negative or neutral, and it's attracting it. So how can we test this? We had and I'll send you the video. Or in the gravity section on the app, there's a whole bunch of videos in there. We had some leftover helium balloons, and we had a little button, and we connected it to a wire, and we just had the balloons holding it, and it's floating, a couple inches off the ground, neutrally, just sitting there. And the wire is connected to a Van der Graaf generator where we cranked it up and we added a positive charge to the button, and it went down.
It's electromagnetic.
And we discharged it, and it went back up because we made it more attracted to the neutral, to the negative.
Mhm.
Right? So we manipulated the charge of it, and we changed its weight. MIT came out with a drone called the Silent Drone. It looks like a skid. It looks like a bunch of milk crates together, and it flies with no moving parts just by its electrostatics. The
Mhm.
XRT-3B triangular aircraft, the patent says that they're using electrostatics for lift and propulsion.
The train at J. Paul Getty does that. The center, it's electromagnetic. They run a charge. It's
Yep.
magnetic. It's just
All
enough.
that is really
Once you
biblical,
charge it, it
too,
moves
but
it.
we don't.
Yeah. So
We don't have time to go into that.
Well, we're gonna
but
have to
it's
have you back, but-
exciting.
so
But
you
this
have
is
to
real
come
science.
back and talk to us
This
more.
is real science.
So just finishing that.
Yeah.
So we can manipulate that, and then we could actually add a negative charge into something, and it'll go up,
Right.
right? And so we can manipulate that. Science says that the electrostatic charge is 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity. 10 to the 36. Remember, 10 to the 12th is 1 trillion. 10 to the 36 stronger than gravity. What does that tell you? Gravity is zero.
Yeah, it does say that. That
Gravity
is
is zero.
exactly.
Yeah. Gravity is gravity. It's their made up God. So thanks for
It's
having
real
No, it's-
biblical. Gravity. I want you to come back and talk
He
about
said
gravity.
this would happen. He said this hour's
told
going to
you.
fly, and you're going to want me back, and
I
we
love
do.
it. I love talking to
I
you.
do too. We haven't even
Thank
got
you
into the
so
good
much.
shit yet. Sorry.
Come back.
I'm here at your beck and call. How's that?
I love you.
I love you
God
too, Roseanne.
bless you.
God
and
bless
God
you.
God bless the truth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having the courage to have this discussion and the open mindedness to look
Of
into
course.
it.
We want to talk to everyone. So are you a flat earther now, or?
No,
I'm
just
just open to
more information.
studying and
Me too.
looking for
Yes.
myself.
I will look into
Research
it. I'll give
is,
you that.
you got to research for yourself before. I don't believe
Right.
anything.
Right.
I want to know.
There you go. That's why you're amazing. Just let me plug my app a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's
I
called the
have it.
Flat
Hells
Earth
yeah.
Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It's on my website. There's already a knockoff on Android. Just go to my website, click there. It's a $3 app, one-time charge. There is some higher functions. I have like a matchmaker on here, a meetup maker.
I love that.
I have profiles, and there's the whole social media aspect. That's $11 a year. Okay, and you can also get it for free just by recommending the app to somebody else. Right? So I make
When
it
you come
super
back,
easy.
we're going to talk Zodiac.
Yeah. Well,
And demons. I want to get into all
the
this shit.
Zodiac is amazing because if I turn the Zodiac on the clock here, the Zodiac spins around. So the sun goes, it spins around once every 24 hours, right? It laps the moon every 28 days.
Well, hey, that's
So there's
in
the
women's
phases of the
bodies.
moon, right? The moons affect women's cycles, and the sun is in charge of men's cycles. right?
Fantastic.
And
yeah.
then the stars are going faster than the sun, and they lap the sun once a year, 365 times around. So the sun will drift back through each zodiac over the course of a year. And after a year, the whole thing resets.
It's fascinating.
No three-body problem.
What a beautiful,
there-
beautiful
I know we're
thing
wrapping
that
up.
God
I
created.
gotta ask you.
It's way more beautiful. And that's what they're hiding from us.
But it is moving.
What's moving?
The sun and the stars and so
Everything is moving above
spinning around us.
We're the only thing that's not moving.
Gotcha.
I can't wait to go to your website and really study all this.
FlatEarthDave.com.
And I will.
We will.
Flat
Thank you.
Earth.
FlatEarthDave.com.
FlatEarthDave.
FlatEarthDave.com. And so I'll be prepared to ask you way more stuff next time.
We're never out of questions. I still have questions, so it's wonderful.
Well, that's a wonderful thing about being alive and learning,
That's right.
having the capacity to learn and change your mind and educate yourself, right? That's why we're alive.
You're the best, Roseanne.
You're great.
So you see,